Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. For those who don't know, my name is Andrew Miller. It's really a great privilege and an honor to be here for a couple of different reasons. One, as you just heard, I was last year's Wolves Den competition winner. So this workshop has really been important to me and an integral part in how I've gone from being an inventor to an entrepreneur. And second, after hearing all of these incredible presentations and speakers, it's an honor to be here because I am probably the least accomplished of everyone that has spoken here, yet I was still asked to talk. So thank you so much. So I get the privilege to tell you of how I started off as an inventor, coming up with an idea, moving all the way to being an entrepreneur. So a little bit of background about myself. I am a New Mexico Tech graduate. I graduated last year, 2017, with my bachelor's in electrical engineering. It was an awesome experience. I love this school and I miss it dearly. I was born and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so I'm very, very familiar with the area and always love coming back and visiting family and friends. And right now I'm working on my PhD at Texas A&M University in computer engineering, another branch of electrical engineering. And as, again, you've already heard, I was last year's New Mexico Tech Wolves Den competition winner. So the very first step that I took in this long process is pretty obvious. I had an idea. And I think the idea part is one of the most fun and enjoyable pieces of being an inventor because you have freedom to do absolutely anything, right? You get to be creative and come up with whatever wild idea you want to see come to life. You can decide you see something that doesn't work the way you want it to and you want it to work better and you have a better way to do it. Or you can come up with something that nobody else has ever done before, right? There's a lot of freedom that comes with being an inventor that you don't get anywhere else. As Albert Einstein said, creativity is intelligence having fun. And I mean, come on, who doesn't want to have fun, right? So the first step for me was coming up with that idea. My idea began the summer before my senior year in high school when I was looking for a science fair project. I came across this circuit called a joule thief. It's a pretty nifty little circuit. It lets you take really low voltages and boost them to a really high voltage so you can power electronics. Now you can do some cool things with this, like you could take a flashlight that runs off of 3 batteries and run it with 1 battery. Or you can do more exciting things with it, like drain extra energy from a dead battery. So when I saw this circuit, I thought, well, this is the coolest little circuit ever. Like, why isn't everybody using this? Well, there were 2 main reasons. First, very few people had heard of the circuit. And second, those who had realized you would never want to use the circuit in a device because it actually wasted more energy during the good part of the battery than it recovered during the dead part of the battery. So it was kind of pointless. This is where I got my idea. Well, wait a second, what if I could redesign the circuit so that it only used the boosting part of the circuit when the battery was dead? And this was the moment at which I started becoming an inventor. Now, just because I had this, what I thought was a promising idea, it didn't make me a good inventor. No, in fact, I had plenty of other brilliant ideas before this. When I was 10 years old, for example, I came up with the first New Mexico Iditarod sled. I did this by strapping roller skates to my feet, hooking my 90-pound dog into a harness, and tying him to myself with a belt loop and a leash to his harness. My next plan was then to have him pull me all the way to the top of my street without me having to do any work. And you guessed it, it worked brilliantly, like absolutely perfect. I didn't have to do a thing. And then the unthinkable happened. My dog turned around and saw a rabbit at the bottom of the street. And after passing power lines at a rate of 2 to the 15th poles per second, I made the logical decision to disconnect the leash from my belt loop and steer into a gravel driveway to slow myself down. And slow myself down I did. So no, this idea wasn't like that, besides the obvious execution faults with it. No, my idea addressed 4 main issues that I think every good idea needs to address. So first, how do you know it's good? Well, it needs to be feasible. You need to have an idea that can actually be built, that actually works, not just something that seems like it would be cool but could never actually be turned into a product. So after researching that technology, I started playing around and testing prototypes. That's the first step. I was able to prove that my idea was possible. Second, is it needed? Well, we're always looking for renewable energy resources and getting extra energy out of devices. And this solution promised that we could now extract extra energy from dead batteries, something that we are wasting right now. So this could definitely be something that's useful to everyone. Third, would people buy it? Well, we're always looking for longer battery life, right? Whether it be in our cell phones, our laptops, our flashlights, or those really pesky smoke detectors that always seem to go off at 3:30 in the morning. So this idea was something that people would want. And then last, what is it worth to someone? Even if you met the first three, if someone won't pay more money for it, what's the point? How are you going to develop into a product and get people interested in buying it? So I needed to prove that it had worth to people. And the idea behind this was that if I can extend your battery lifetime, batteries are already pretty expensive, you don't have to buy as many batteries, and therefore I can save consumers money. So over the next 6 months, starting in that summer, I started testing. I started testing various parameters of the circuit. I had to completely redesign it from the ground up so that it wouldn't be using the boosting part of the circuit, right, and draining that energy from the good portion of the battery, but so that it would only turn on when the battery was dead. That took many months of testing. I had to borrow equipment from friends and from teachers. I had to talk with professors to get an understanding about the technology and the way the circuit worked for things that I hadn't known previously. And I was also blessed to have a father who's much, much smarter than I am and could help guide me along the design process as I made mistakes. And as we electrical engineers say, we let the magic smoke out of some of the components. So after doing this, I needed to start quantifying what are the benefits of this technology. What can I use to show an investor or someone that would want this technology that it's valuable to them? So the testing portion became this long quantifying stage of how much extra energy can I extract out of this device or this dead battery. So now that I had what was a working good idea, an invention that was practical, and I had a working prototype, I needed to gain interest. I needed to know, okay, I think this is the fantastic idea, but what do other people think? So I did this by competing in the science fair competitions. So I started off with my local science fair competition. And at the local science fair competition, I was amazed. Everyone loved it. And they said, this is really amazing. You should consider patenting it. And I thought, well, maybe I will. And then I got to attend the UNM Regional Science Fair. And the same thing happened. A lot of the parents, teachers, and even some of the judges would come up and say, this is incredible. You really need to patent this. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I will. And then I got to attend the New Mexico Tech State Science Fair. And the same thing happened again. All of the judges, a lot of the teachers, and business people started coming up and saying, this is amazing. You need to start patenting this. So at this point, I started thinking, okay, maybe I will. And then I got to attend the International Science and Engineering Fair sponsored by Intel. I got to take my invention and my presentation and share it with thousands of other students in their projects. It was a huge competition in Phoenix, Arizona in 2013. And at the competition, I started having business owners come up to me and say, this technology is amazing. You need to patent this, but really soon. So at the end of the competition was the award ceremony. And I was amazed. I wound up winning a first place sponsor award from the Alcoa Foundation. And I thought, this is the greatest thing ever. Now I got to share my technology with thousands and thousands of other people, and I actually won an award with it. But now what? Oh, that's right, the patent. Well, it's worth noting here that I did take some risk in this, and that you should really consider protecting your technology before sharing it with the rest of the public. So during this process, I had started filing my provisional patent to protect my intellectual property. So those step 2 and 3 are kind of switched. Well, as a lot of you know here, filing a patent and writing it is very, very easy work. It's almost as simple as writing those little puzzles on the back of a cereal box, right? Not at all, not even close. It's very, very complicated. And I knew I had not the knowledge nor the capability to write an impressive document like a patent. So I needed to find someone that could help me with this process. Well, I filed my provisional patent, which protected my idea for 1 year. But time started running out, and I didn't know what to do with this. I didn't have the funding to go and file and write my own patent and hire lots of legal work. And this is where I was very blessed to come across Peacock Law. Peacock Law came alongside me and helped me take my rough provisional patent and write a beautiful work of art and submit a full patent application. And the patent had so much legalese that I could barely read it. So after spending the next 3 years of refining it and working with the patent office, my patent was officially granted in the fall of 2016, which was my first major breakthrough, because not only had I had an idea that I created into an invention, I now had that invention that was protected, and I could now start working towards creating a business and becoming an entrepreneur. So the transition between being an inventor to an entrepreneur was a little more difficult than I thought it would be, right? I needed the right connections. So now that I had the patent, I knew I needed to, in some way, start working towards starting a business. Well, how do I do this? I needed business knowledge and I needed funding. Well, that was great because as a broke engineering student, the two things I had were not funding and I had zero business knowledge. So at this point, I started thinking, well, now what? I have my patent, but I don't know who to talk to. I don't have any connections in the business world. What am I going to do? A few months started going by, and still no progress. And then I got this email from New Mexico Tech where the heading said, the second annual Entrepreneurs and Inventors Workshop. This was amazing. 2 days of workshops, speakers, and panels where I could come and attend and mingle and talk with the top businessmen and women all across the country. I could listen in and get advice on steps that I hadn't thought about or steps that I still needed to take. And not only that, there was this competition called the Wolves Den that I could compete in, present my idea, my technology, and hopefully secure a partner. So I thought, this is perfect. I'll compete. So I did. And lo and behold, I won. It was absolutely incredible. Out of all the competitors, they picked my technology as being potential and that it was something that could be turned into a business, which was one of the most surreal and reassuring moments that I had after having this idea turned into an invention. So not only that, but I also got the incredible business advice and started making connections with all the people that I met at this competition. Shortly after the competition, I got in contact and talked with 3 incredible, brilliant men, Larry Udell, Dr. Norman Smith, and Mitchell Kirshner. And the 3 of them said, we want to partner with you. This was a second surreal moment, because not only had I started off with an idea, just a science fair project, a simple idea that I came across, but now I had 3 brilliant businessmen wanting to help me take my idea to the next level, creating a business. So I'm very happy and excited to tell you that as of fall of 2017, we launched Battery Savers, a new and exciting energy technology corporation where we are actively working in releasing battery-saving technology that can extend the lifetime of your batteries. It's been an incredible journey that started as a simple idea, a science fair project, got taken all the way to an invention, being patented, finding the right connections to help me with the legal work, finding the right business connections through this workshop and the people that I've met here, and now starting and launching a corporation to market my technology. So thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor to be able to tell you my story. Feel free to reach out and contact me. I'd be happy to share more information if you'd like. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Anyone have any questions of Andrew?
Yes, sir.
Andrew, having just heard all of that, I'm very disappointed that you didn't tell us how to build a better water treatment system.
Well, I'm saving that as my intellectual property is not protected, so I don't want to really share my idea just yet. Yes, sir.
Did I ask you, is the product that you developed, is that actually becomes part of a battery, or is it an add-on, or how? Can you describe a little more what you have?
Certainly. It's actually can be all of those. So it's a circuit itself that can be pretty much integrated into any device. It's primarily right now designed for low current devices, so things like flashlights, remotes, smoke detectors, devices like that. This can be something that is added on externally to the battery. It can be a part of the battery, or it can be added in inside of the electronic devices as part of the manufacturing process. So one of the big steps in that was making a device that's cheap enough that either consumers can afford to buy without spending an extra expense on top of buying your flashlight or your TV remote, but that extends battery life long enough and recovers that cost that pays for the circuit itself. So along this process has been refining the design so that it's very inexpensive to manufacture and produce in large quantities under a few cents, so that the savings you get back from an individual battery covers that cost of that device.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Have you licensed this anymore?
As of right now, we are working on various connections that we have that through my three partners right now. The license, we're still in that initial stage of working through our various partners and who we want to license with, so not yet. Yes, sir.
How did you find out that there was life within a dead battery?
So it did largely start from finding that circuit called a jewel thief. And other people had been doing some things with taking, say, a single AA battery and powering all the lights in your house off of it. It's a very interesting little circuit. So it's pretty cool, but it's quite unpractical. And some people were doing things with saying, okay, look, there is some energy left in a battery. It just, the voltage is too low. It's a very weak energy, so you can't really do much with it. But you could maybe turn on a little LED or something like that. So from that point, realizing that there is still extra energy in the battery, but that you don't want the circuit on the battery all the time because it does waste energy in that sense, was redefining the circuit as something that would be added on and turn on only after the battery had died. So at that point, then it was a matter of testing to figure out, okay, quantify exactly how much energy I can extract from the battery, how much savings is that to the consumer. Yeah. Yes, sir.
For the application side of it, does it apply to all batteries or just alkaline, lead acid?
The circuit itself can be designed to work with any battery type itself, of any number of cells, any package size. But the applications right now, based on the current existing prototypes I've been working through, are primarily designed for those low current applications. But yes, it can be adapted to work for any type of battery. Now, there are limitations on what batteries you should use and fully drain. So for some things like rechargeable batteries, you don't want to discharge them and drain them completely dead, or else your battery will start to break down and leak or can catch fire. But there still is extra energy even in rechargeable batteries where the voltage drops too low. So it may not be as significant as a single-use battery, but there is still energy you can extract from rechargeable batteries as well. Yes.
So you said you're out, you're in your doctoral program right now?
Yes.
How much time do you actually spend as an entrepreneur, and do you have any other help in order to kind of catapult that into a national part?
Yes, so again, the three business partners that I'm working with, Larry Udell, Dr. Norman Smith, and Mitchell Kirshner, are kind of the brains behind the business itself. I'm more of the technology side of things, helping further our technology, developing more prototypes and specific applications, refining the technology. And then on the schooling side of things, my research is actually unrelated to what my business is in right now. So I do put in a lot of time to both, which means I do not sleep a lot anymore. But that's part of the fun of being an entrepreneur, I think. It makes everything very exciting. It depends on the week. It can be anywhere from 20 to 40 to 60 hours on either schooling or on the business side of things. Just depends on what we're working on at the time. Yes, sir.
So for somebody who's finishing an engineering degree at Tech and who might like to pursue a career path other than working for your regular boss as a regular engineer at a giant company, do you have any thoughts, recommendations on how you might go about doing that and what pitfalls there might be? And also, it might be interesting to see how your answers to this question change over the coming years.
Yes, definitely. I am by no means an expert in how to start a business, since this is my very first one. But for starters, You've taken the first right step, coming to this workshop. I think this is one of the greatest opportunities. Being a New Mexico Tech alumni myself, I never had the opportunity to take my technology besides science fair and share with not only the technical community, but the business community. So having this kind of a workshop where you can come and talk with other people that either have similar ideas and are looking to advance their technology and start a company, or being able to make those business connections. You know, probably over half of the people in this room can offer you something in helping you get your business started. So you have this opportunity to meet and talk with those people. With regards to pitfalls, there are a number of pitfalls that I think most of the other speakers throughout this workshop have already mentioned. But for one, probably the largest is being careful to protect your technology, right, so that someone else doesn't steal it. Back at my science fair competition, one of the weird things that people were doing, I noticed various technology corporations going around taking pictures of projects. And I found out later they do this because the majority of students there do not go on to protect their technology and whatever they've invented. And if they don't, but had a really good idea, some corporation will file for the patent and further that technology itself. So I would say that's probably the biggest pitfall, that as an inventor, as someone who's come up with an idea, you need to make sure that your technology is protected so that someone else won't finish what you've started.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Andrew, I learned about this last year when I was in the competition that you won. And since that time, I want you to know that my garage is full of old batteries that I've been saving, waiting for, you to go to market. I got all my friends involved. So what are we going to do with all these batteries we have?
Awesome. Well, hopefully in the coming weeks and months here, as we're working forward to license this technology to other companies so that they can use it inside of their products, and as well as also hopefully introducing maybe some products in the future where you could add this technology into your smoke detector and start using a lot of those dead batteries. So keep saving them until they take up your entire garage.
Andrew,
Yes,
quick
sir.
question. Following up on the question of what batteries could be used and thinking of a marketing strategy,
Yes, sir.
could you put this in the battery systems for a rover on Mars?
Yes, it would depend on the portion. So like I said, the existing prototypes I have right now are designed for low current applications. However, a lot of space type applications include things like solar technology, right? A Mars rover is designed so that it can recharge itself over the course of several days to weeks and then continue out and carry another mission. So this technology is something that can go inside of those applications. There's actually been some instances in the past where things like a satellite is launched into space and a group is not careful and they drain their battery completely and then realize that the energy they get back out of a solar panel is not sufficient to start charging their battery again. And so that's a perfect example, similar to the rover, where my technology can help assist lengthen the lifetime of the batteries or help avert crises where you can't recharge your battery.
Well, I'm expecting Larry to get it into something that goes onto another planet, so you can advertise that as now serving rovers on Mars or something
Yes.
like that. So.
That sounds awesome. Yes.
One other question, and this is more of a business question, so I don't know if you'll have a good answer or not, but over many years I've noticed Intel had a very successful marketing campaign, especially in the 90s, with the Intel Inside branding and campaign. Have you been looking into having some form of battery savers inside, or however you would sell it, so that, say, if someone at this workshop wants to buy a battery savers product and run it off of all of the dead batteries they have, they actually could?
Yes. All I can say on that right now is we are working on that as we speak. Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity, if you're comfortable answering this question, how did you spend the $5,000? And do you
Oh,
still
yes.
have any?
Yes, I started off by looking for the most expensive and elaborate mods I could add to my car that would really soup it up. No. I actually spent most of a good portion of the money starting off on equipment that I needed to do more sophisticated testing to start building up the prototypes. And then the other half of the money was spent on the prototypes themselves. So even though the technology is very inexpensive and cheap when produced in quantity, producing a very small-scale product is very expensive. So I was very grateful to get that award money because it helped supply me with some of those initial funds that I needed to do some of the early-stage prototypes. So, thank you so much.